Good morning, YouTubers, and welcome once again to the southern wing of the Stink Bug Works, where you are about to be subjected to another unscripted, unedited, unrehearsed, unwarranted Edward D. Wood of the boating world video. I was planning to go to the pond tomorrow to test run jet stepper number 4 and the Redbird, but it's going to be so darned hot. Wayne bailed on me, and I think I'm just going to stay here by the coast. And so instead I'm going to talk about what revisions I've done to these things and such. But first, a shout out to Big B. I watched his video today where he promoted this cool little V-hull boat. It ran pretty good, but he was in a real small little pond, and it got me to thinking. And, most of everything I run is small because most of every place I get to run here in the Southern California desert, most of the places are pretty small. So, if you're a newbie in the boating world, you really got to take into mind how big your pond is. Now, that little Tornado Big B showed this morning would be a perfect beginner boat for somebody that has a small pond. On the other hand, if you have some good area, maybe that Sonic Wake, the thing's 36 inches long, that's 3 feet. Maybe that would be a better boat. Each is self-righting and has its pluses and minuses. So if you're new to the boating world, consider the size of your pond. I have the biggest pond in the world right over there, maybe a half a mile, but it's salt, and sometimes the surf is 5 to 8 feet. So I don't run out there. Anyway, jet stepper number 4, I have put this little Outrunner in and rigged it up, and I'm going to run this with a 500 milliamp battery. The last time I had this much power in this hull, it was unpredictable at best. It would become an airplane at a moment's notice. So I'm not quite sure how this is going to run. Who knows? It might have been the setup I had rather than just the excess power. So, I've fine-tuned my turn fin here to get good axial alignment and such. So this I'm hopeful about. Next was the Redbird. You guys saw this thing run, and it was pretty good, but it needed a couple of tweaks. One, it's got a flood chamber, but the self-righting feature really didn't work. And before, I had a Dynamite 30 up here, and I needed to move my CG back for one thing, so I put in a Shark 30, which just fits in here. It's not permanently attached. When I tape the hatch on, I'll put a piece of tape across there. It kind of wedges the battery against the motor mount and the shaft here. So that kind of holds everything in. So we used to do this on our hot rod gliders, the F5B jobs. We'd just tape the batteries into place, and everything else would keep them from moving. So that's my improvements for this. So I've moved the weight back and over to the side, and I'm hoping the self-righting feature will work. The cooling runs, boy, did I get convoluted with them. And while not the shortest run, it's actually the most convenient because the cooling hose, or the cooling lines, are now out of the way of the battery and the speed control, because I have to move the speed control out to pull the battery and such. So I need the room there, and that's why it has this convoluted thing. Now, yes, you want the shortest runs and the biggest diameter you can, but my limiting factor in this cooling system really is right here and it's only going to absorb so much water. Yeah, I could ream that out a little bit bigger, but you know what? This is a 30 amp setup. Some cooling will be more than enough. One last thing I did to this is I put on this slightly longer rudder, and I tilted the angle of the rudder forward. When I put this on a setup board, the old alignment was kicked back quite a bit. And if you were to lay that rudder over 90 degrees, that was like lifting the transom, and that's why it was spinning out in the corners. So this should help a lot. I may still come forward on this depending how it works. So CG changed, rudder depth and angle changed on this guy. And then for the rescue boat, I used the cheapest transmitter available, which was this Hobby King GT2. And you notice I've ground away, and if you look in there, that's the wrap on a LiPo battery. So this thing used to run on 4 dry cells, which had about 1,500 milliamp capacity. This is now a 4,000 milliamp battery, and if you look, the door is bulging a little bit, and I may wind up, wrapping tape around here or something just to hold it all together, because I really had to hog away inside there to fit that battery. But now I have a 4,000 milliamp battery in my cheap transmitter, so that should give me, well over an hour of runtime and still have plenty of go. So I think rescue boats need big batteries. So more to come on that later. I may, like I said, tape this up and do some grinding in here. Who knows? Now, let's get to Jet Stepper prototype number 3. You notice there's a little similarity. Number 3, I still use J. Turner's plastic transom and merely a plastic doubler instead of the wood block that the newer models have. And I gave this to Wayne to tinker around with, and it got waned on. Wayne put this motor in here. It's a little 2030 motor. And he said, it doesn't run for crap. Well, that's because his motor shed half of the shrink metal in there when it was packed into here and grinding away at the windings. Of course it didn't run. And then he had a coupler that he bored out on his drill press, nice accurate way. And when the shaft would run, the motor would flop around like that. Because remember now, it just had a wood motor mount glued to this plastic floor that can move around quite a bit. Well, and you just caught a quick glimpse of it. Years ago, I was running a little 3,000 kV Outrunner in the Geckos, and I'll show you those someday, and the Geckos. And I found this 5,000 kV motor that was a shorter can, but a higher kV. And I said, well, let's try around on it. So this was it. Now this is probably way too much motor. This, on this little gearbox that I made, has the basic output of a longer can, 3,000 RPM per volt motor. This is a 2825, and I think the other one was a 2832 Outrunner. So, but since I had this laying around, I just put a big old glob of hot melt glue there and cobbled together something. But, it's in there, and let's just see how it runs. Now, this may be way too much power for this thing, but depending on how this works, I'll decide whether or not I want to make this a go or if I'll just bust this out and do something else with it. Why do I pick on Wayne? This is why I pick on Wayne. Wayne, if you're watching this video, Wayne, my apologies. This is not an insult. It's just an observation. Wayne hurries through things. He doesn't spend a lot of time. Can you tell which shaft was notched by Dr. Jet, and which shaft was notched by Wayne? You know, which was notched by Dr. Jet, and which was notched by Wayne? Wayne, take your time. Have some patience. If you take your time and plan ahead, you'll have a nice, neat project, and you won't be breaking down every time you put it in the water. If everything is built like this, something will break. Okay, so there you go. People, if you're building boats or airplanes or anything for that matter, cars, submarines, take your time, plan ahead, do a good job, be a craftsman, be proud of your work. You never get to see that notch. Well, nobody else gets to see that notch, but you'll know it's there. That's what I'm talking about. Until next time, Jet out.